Hey. Thank you for tuning in to a special episode of the Interracial Perspective Maturity Not Included podcast, a place where we discuss a wide range of topics from any to everything, but most importantly, a place to be yourself. I'm LC, and joining me, as always, is my lovely co host, Aaron. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, LC. Welcome back, everybody.
In this special episode, we are excited to have Simone LaBouche of Running That Mouth. Hey, Simone.
Hello. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here. It's this is all very exciting. I'm new to the whole YouTube verse, and you are my very first appearance. I'd like you to know.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Nice.
we
feel
definitely feel
honored.
special. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Simone, where are you from?
I am from the depths of the pandemic. That is where I was born. I was born out of the creative spirit that comes from being home in the house and also wanting there to be more diverse voices on a variety of topic and issues. I think that many people feel that there's a lot of chatter out there, but not necessarily a lot of sensible voices. So I'd like to provide a space and a place for people to speak sensibly and openly and honestly. That's where I'm from. That's where I'm coming from.
Okay,
Cool.
so that kind of goes into the next question that we have for you is what made you want to become a podcaster or start a YouTube channel?
Well, I was inspired by Monica at All About the Tea.
Shout out to Monica, all about
Yeah,
the tea. Hey, girl.
shout out, yay. I caught her show, sometime in November. And at that point, again, it was the depths of the pandemic. And it was such a fun time. For me, it was like a party. And I thought, this is wonderful. I want to host a party. I want people to feel this good or help people feel this good. So that's kind of where I became inspired and what brought me to wanting to be a YouTuber. And, on the fun side of it, where I think Monica and her show definitely are. Sometimes they touch on some deep topics, but for the most part, they keep it pretty lighthearted. I want to talk on some topics that I think that we're beginning to touch on in this country, but I think that we really need to go deeper, and probably mainstream media is maybe more afraid to do the analyzation of these topics that needs to be done. So that's another reason why I'd like to be a YouTuber.
Nice.
Nice. So, can you tell us something interesting about yourself that most people wouldn't know?
Well, I think at this point, there's really not much that people know about Simone LaBouche, seeing that I'm so very new. Um, I'll tell you something. You know those Myers-Briggs personality tests? It's
Yes.
really interesting. A few years ago, when I was working in a corporate setting as a manager, I had a team of probably well over 150 people. I took that test and I came up the executive, which to me seemed, about right. I had always kind of had that orderly, and many of the things that the executive personality hits on when you read the profile, many of those things kind of fit or suited my personality, and they kind of hit those marks. So it didn't seem odd that I came up as the executive. And just trying to prepare for my show and a variety of different topics and what we're going to do next, I took the test again, and this time it came up the advocate, someone who is, prepared to speak for others and give others a platform. And I thought that was just the weirdest thing, because as I'm preparing to create a space where people can speak openly and honestly, as they have not been in other platforms, I took on a very different role and persona, and that came up in the personality test. And I think that that's just the neatest thing, that I think we all, in many ways, do this as humans. We are chameleons. We go from one arena to the other, switching hats as we do. So that's something I found out about me that was kind of neat. I didn't even know.
So, do you feel that you are able to have open conversations with others? Not only open conversations, but like logical and practical conversations that can take emotions out of the discussion?
I feel feel that I can. I feel that I can. I want to, to speak on emotions for just a moment. There's nothing wrong with being true to your emotions. I think that when we start to want others to feel our emotions, to feel exactly how we're feeling about the situation, about what we're talking about, that's where we get into to sticky water. For instance, as a Black woman, which Simone LaBouche is, there are a number of topics which are close to me, near and dear to me, that concern Black women. When speaking to people who aren't Black women or who don't have Black women in their lives, they may not have the care, concern, or passion that I had for these topics. I've come to understand that, you can't make people feel passionately about something that they don't. You can't change people. And, when someone isn't interested in a topic, it isn't necessarily your job to make them interested, to make them care. I think what we can do to strengthen our causes is to find supportive circles. These people believe in this particular issue, and they're willing to work towards it. I don't need to fight people who don't believe it, or at least not alone. Not trying to get them to come over to our side, not alone anyway. That's a waste of energy. I think that kind of is where I try to keep the emotional balance or the emotional side of it. Yes, they have their feelings. They're not going to necessarily match yours, but that doesn't mean that, you need to give up the fight or change the direction of your fight.
I like that. That's
I
a
like
very
that.
nice way of saying that too.
That's really, yeah, I agree because we just had a conversation about racism and educating others about being racist or like terminology or phrases or something like that. And I sort of take your stance, and you can't really fight these people. And me personally, my perspective, I think it's a waste of time to try and educate a fully grown adult who know, especially in the year 2021, the difference between right and wrong, racism and
Absolutely.
not racism, sexism,
Yes.
non-sexism, anti-LGBT, everything. So
Preach.
I think
Preach.
that for me, I never understood why it says, "Oh, we need to educate." No, these people know the difference. And again, it starts at home. The behavior is learned. If you have racist or homophobic or sexist parents or caregivers that are teaching you these things at an early age, then yeah, you can educate them and try to revise their thinking and behavior towards certain groups. But after the age of, I'm sorry, 15, 16, you know better.
What you're saying reminds me of a quote that I saw by a reporter on CNN. And the quote was from an anonymous anti-racism activist. And this is basically what it is. I am tired of explaining the one, two, threes, ABCs, and do, me, re's of racism. People need to educate themselves on the issues of racism, the institutionalization of racism. You have opportunities to do the right thing. Take a step back and look at the role you play in perpetuating racist systems. It is not my job to educate you. That is your job. As a member of the human race, it is your duty to educate yourself on the issues of inequality. And that ends the quote. And when I heard that quote, I just thought, for so many people, that is going to be a relief. As a person of color, often we feel, well, when someone says something ignorant, I need to take a calm breath and, calmly explain to them why that's wrong. No, that is not my job. That is
Yes.
not
I
my job.
I really like that viewpoint, and I have to ask for you, does it help alleviate how stressed you become in situations just knowing it's not your job instead of actually engaging, being the one that says, okay, I can walk away from this? Because I feel like some people get caught in this emotional turmoil when it isn't their job to do so.
Absolutely. That, seeing that quote and a few other quotes that I had seen previous to that really gave me a supportive position to say, you know what, that's not my job. I don't have to waste my time trying to educate this particular person. First, because that person doesn't necessarily need the education. They know what they said was wrong and on what
Exactly.
levels it was wrong. These things are meant to tie up your time on a variety of levels. First, it emotionally breaks you down. Second, it actually uses your physical energy to talk to this person as if you're going to educate them. No, 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 wrong, wrong, wrong. It's not your job. You have every right to remove yourself from the conversation. What I really want for people to feel comfortable with is finding comfortable ways to tell people to, take a hike, buddy. Professional ways to tell people that's not my job. I'm not going to get caught up in that. No, you go talk to human resources if you need some
Exactly.
help.
Yep. It's not my job to sit here and explain to a grown adult how to act or behave. You have your parents for that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
If they
So
didn't do the job, what makes you think that I can?
Hey,
exactly.
perfectly said. Yeah, I agree.
So with that, what are your thoughts on the current environment on how a lot, because full disclosure, Aaron and I aren't political. Our views of politics is Netflix's House of Cards with the combination of HBO's Veep. That's
Okay.
how we view politics. I feel like at the end of the day, all politicians are out to maintain their power. And I can't get down with that. I feel like a lot of people say what they want people to hear just to stay in a position of power. So I've never been a political. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're very informed, but
Mhm.
we're not political. But what are your thoughts on the current climate about how everything is being labeled racist?
And this is how I feel about it. In the year 2021, we are now just speaking about a variety of things in this country, which we should have talked about a long time ago. We are for the first time talking about what it means to have institutionalized racism, yet we've been dealing with institutionalized racism our entire lives in this country. I think that when people feel more comfortable having those conversations, they're more comfortable calling something out for what it is. And far too many people are on opposite sides of the spectrum. I mean, for instance, if you burn a cross in front of somebody's house or hang a noose, yes, they consider that racism.
Yeah, that's
But if
racist.
that's racist, that's
That is
clearly
definitely
racist.
racist.
That is clearly racist. But if you are hiring for a job and you say to someone, let's make sure that we go with an Asian male just to make sure that we get the best, someone would say, that's racist. We need to interview a broad variety of of candidates to make sure that we get the best. The person who made the statement of let's just go with the Asian or what have you would say, well, I don't see how that was being racist. Why was that being racist? Well, one, you're stereotyping. Not all Asians are good in tech. Two, you have X'd out two other groups of people, black
Right.
and white, and whatever ethnicity they're within between. When people say to someone, oh my goodness, you speak so well for a black person, they don't see the racism in that. They don't see that they're saying, well, yes, there are educational deficits in this country created by slavery. That doesn't mean that every black person you come encounter with is going to be uneducated. So, I think that there are a number of things with which as people of color, we deal with these microaggressions daily. And when you mention them to non-people of
I'm sorry
color,
to interrupt you, but you
yeah,
literally took out that was going to be my next question.
yeah,
Microaggressions.
yeah, we deal with these things on a daily, hourly basis. And when you mention them to someone who does not fall into the category of a person of color, they will state unequivocally, well, that's just hypersensitivity. Well, if you get cut with a paper cut 1,000 times, yes, you will become sensitive to the slightest of touches. So I think that we're now living in a time where people are more comfortable speaking about what's inappropriate. And on that same side, people are saying, well, that makes everything inappropriate. I can't say anything to you. And that's not true. That's just a way of someone responding or behaving so that they don't have to take me as a person into consideration.
Very interesting.
I
Because
want
I could see both sides. I could see how a lot is, oh, what you just said, that's racist. But I also can see how people can say, okay, well, then you can't say anything to
Mhm.
anyone because you might offend everybody. So, yeah, moving right along, what does loyalty mean to you?
Loyalty to me used to mean, you are there through thick and thin. That's your buddy, that's your friend, that's your relative. You are there. And I have come to understand that that's not always reciprocated. So
Yes.
for me, equity is extremely important. Reciprocity is important. So loyalty is fueled by those two things, as far as I'm concerned. I am loyalty to the point of which it's reciprocated. I am loyalty to the point of which that relationship warrants loyalty. And I do that because I've gotten to the point in my life to I realize you can't give everyone your everything. I believe that we talked about this a little bit via chat, you and I, in the comments, where I said, social media has kind of changed the definition of friend. Everybody's your friend nowadays. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, they are not. And everyone who you consider to be loyal truly isn't loyal. And if you count on those people who will never be there for you, trust they won't be there for you. So I think that for me, it's all about equity and reciprocity and, strengths and bonds that are built in relationships before, those supports are probably needed.
I do like that too, because I think people get a lot of maybe terminology wrong on things. I think there is such thing as an acquaintance compared to a friend. And I think
Absolutely.
with the idea of social media, because everything's at the touch of a finger, which is great in so many other aspects, people just automatically assume because we've had, a quick conversation, now it's a friend.
Right.
Which leads me to a question for you that's kind of in tandem with loyalty is what's your definition of a friendship?
Tune in next week as we continue our conversation with Simone LaBouche of Running That Mouth. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LC and Aaron. That way, you know when a new episode becomes available. And as always, stay safe, stay positive, and be true to yourself.